WNSD AM790 and now on 97.1 FM. Let's continue the last round of questions. Here is the moderator, Bruce Ash.
Thank you, Garrett. Welcome back, candidates, and welcome back, crowd. We're now going to talk about Obamacare, the budget, entitlement, and a little bit on taxes. And I think this question goes to Mr. Sitton, who kind of got taken out of order the last time. I apologize.
Accepted.
Okay. If the individual mandate to Obamacare is ruled unconstitutional, should Congress start from scratch to propose an alternative, or are there sections of Obamacare that make sense to continue?
Again, I've gone to the wisdom of our district. I have not met a physician yet who likes Obamacare. The reason is because one of the things it does, we know already, we were told it was going to lower the cost of health care. One gone. Second thing, we were also told that it would help us with our relationships with our physicians. That's absolutely wrong. Quite frankly, the opposite is true. And the further we get into this disgrace, we find that the important relationship between physicians and their patients will be disturbed. So to answer your question, I see this as one of the great opportunities for the Republicans, common sense people, and conservatives in this country. Let's seize the opportunity right now. Write a better program than Obamacare that uses free enterprise principles, encourages our young people to become doctors and researchers, and continue with the greatest health care system ever devised in the history of mankind.
Thank you, Mark Gonzalez.
We need to repeal Obamacare, period. We then need to also talk about what we're for and not just what we're against as good conservatives. We pay more than any other nation in the world for health care, 50% more than the next nation, yet our life expectancy is number 27 in the world. So we need to bring the cost of health care down and make it affordable and available for everyone. How do we do that? Well, things like tort reform, so that we have caps on malpractice, so doctors are not having to pay those exorbitant fees and then order unnecessary tests for you just to cover their backs. We need to be able to buy insurance across state lines to make it competitive, have the free market economy flourish. And we need to stop this fee-for-service thing where a doctor only gets paid for something they do to you as opposed to actually making us healthy by incentivizing preventive care. So we need to do some things to bring that cost down to make us healthier and make health care affordable and available. And the federal government, by the way, shouldn't be involved in a lot of this. Some of this is state issues, some of this are local issues. The federal government can't fix this. I'm a conservative, and we need to address bringing those costs down and make it affordable and available for everyone.
Thank you. Jesse Keller.
What Obamacare did was put a mandate on the individual, it put brand new taxes on businesses, and it cut $500 billion out of Medicare for our seniors. So it was literally bad for every single American walking this earth. The whole thing can go away. I believe its official name was the Affordable Health Care Act, so maybe we can keep the name. But beyond that, the whole thing can go away. We need to purchase insurance across state lines. Businesses need to be allowed to pool together. And the same reason that states are allowed to pool together to purchase insurance, businesses are not, and if they're allowed to do, the cost of insurance will go down. But my biggest thing is the individual ownership of health insurance. Individuals should be given the same tax incentives that employers are to purchase insurance. You should be able to go home from here after you vote Jesse Kelly and get on your computer and purchase an individual insurance plan tailored for you, not one with government regulations that force you to be covered under things you don't want. It should be your personal plan, which will give you all the freedom you want. In short, less government, more freedom.
Thank you, Senator Miller.
You know, being a state senator, I know the impact that that's going to have on Arizona's budget. It's going to bankrupt this state. It's going to hit us for $450 million, and then it's going to go up to $700 and then $1 billion a year. It's going to cost the state of Arizona. That's why I voted to refer to the ballot your right to opt out of Obamacare, which you approved. In the state of Arizona now, it says the health care freedom of our citizens will not be infringed. I voted to give the governor the authority to sue, and we're one of 19 states that took that lawsuit to the Supreme Court. And we're going to fight this guy. It is a states' rights issue. Nowhere in Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution does it give the federal government the authority to make decisions about your health care. It is not. The 10th Amendment is clear. If it isn't in that Article 1, Section 8, if it ain't in the Constitution, it is reserved to the states and to the people. There is no business for the healthcare business to be in Washington. It should be here, in our local communities and with us. So I would oppose any healthcare mandate, return to the state, and let the free market set the system up. That's where the success is.
Thank you very much. Mr. Silver. Mr. Senator? Oh,
Sorry, yeah.
okay, my mistake.
I'm talking about
No, Bruce goofed up again. The next question is from Martha McSally. Today, 65% of the federal government is comprised of payments to Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, VA, S-CHIP, and debt service on the debt. In the next 3 years, these costs will go up to over 70% of the total budget. No one, not even Paul Ryan's Path to Prosperity, provides a balanced budget for many years to come. In the view of these staggering facts, how do you propose to reduce the deficit?
Our debt, as I mentioned, is the single biggest threat to our nation right now, to national security and to American prosperity. These are complex issues. We need to look at every taxpayer's dollar that we're spending, and we need to bring that down in order to get this debt under control. We did not get in this situation overnight, and we're not going to get out of it overnight, unfortunately. If we do nothing, then we are going to be on the path to where Greece is right now. So we need to protect a few things. We need to protect veterans and protect our military, because the federal government is responsible for defending our nation, and we must, as a covenant to our veterans, take care of those who have put their lives on the line and served. As we look at options to protect and secure Social Security and Medicare for the future, we need to protect the promises we have made to seniors that are at or near retirement. And we need to be innovative about ways to sustain those programs for the future, because otherwise they will go bankrupt and they will Pac-Man out the rest of the budget. So how do we do that? Do some innovation, and ideas are on the table which are worth looking at for people to keep some money in their pockets when it comes to Social Security. And I need to stop now. So we got to get this debt under control. It's very complex, and I'm going to Washington to fix it.
Thank you. Jessica.
Well, we have to be clear. We have to protect the benefits that seniors have earned while giving future generations choices. That's what we're about in this country. We're about choices. To protect seniors who have earned these benefits, choices for future generations. We will need more revenue to the federal government, and we cannot raise taxes to do that, because our tax system is already too high. What we can do, not to change the subject, is energy. We are literally sitting on top of a mountain of money in all forms: uranium, oil, coal, natural gas. We have everything we need, not only to be energy independent, not just to lower your power bill and lower gas prices, which we can do. We can be the biggest exporter of energy in the world, and they don't call it black gold for nothing. It actually can pay off the deficit. It can pay off the debt of this country. It is the way future, and it is the way into the future. Energy is the way we have to go in order to fulfill our obligations.
Thank you. Senator Nolan.
You've got to keep the promise that was made to all the people that have paid in the system. I've been paying into Social Security since I was 16 years old when I first started working. I right now do not believe it will be there when I retire, because it has been raided by Congress for justifications for them to spend the money that was put on that system on all their crazy spending programs. That's got to stop. You've got to protect it and set up a system, like most people believe it should be. Right now, Social Security is not a trust fund. That money goes into the general fund and Congress spends it. If you want to set it up, you segregate it, and you create a special fund to make sure we keep our promise to our seniors. And then, I have an idea. I think that when I talk about expanding those oil leases and mineral rights and timber rights and start generating that revenue, when you issue those leases, you take a portion of that lease, not increase the price of it, just take a portion of those new leases, and you take that revenue and you put it in and protect Social Security. Guess what that does? Whenever a president ever thinks about cutting back on oil exploration and the amount of oil production and everything else, the people of this country will go bonkers and stop him from doing it. You protect domestic oil production and you protect Social Security.
The question is how to protect and take a look at our budget. I might suggest we finally do an audit of this country. I'm going to say something right now that I know is in your heart. As you watch the federal government spend money, how about these three words? Fraud, abuse, and waste. Just last week, several members of the administration went out to Las Vegas to find a hotel. Could have done that online, don't you think? Ladies and gentlemen, this has been going on for years. We don't have an idea how much we're spending. We talk about spending money on entitlements or any other programs in this country. We don't have a handle. The Office of Management and Budget puts out a program. I've never seen in any of their reports once fraud, abuse, and waste. We know it's there. This is how we got into trillions of dollars of debt. I would start there. We start, first of all, taking a look at what it is necessary to spend money on, absolutely necessary, and prescribed by the Constitution of the United States. We funded those first. And then we go on from that point. But we have to audit what it is we're spending in this country right now. I've asked people in the federal government so many times, they don't know either.
Thank you. Our next question is a hypothetical. This goes to Jesse Kelly. You're in a grocery store, and you see a person buying food with an EBT card. This is the new food stamp. And then you see them pay cash for alcohol and cigarettes. What do you say to them? And how would you, as a representative in Congress, address the situation?
I'd make sure that more Republicans got elected in this country.
Thank you. In order.
Well, some of you may remember I actually introduced a bill in the Arizona legislature to deal with this very problem. I think it's wrong. I had a lady one time sent me a receipt that showed things that you can't buy cigarettes with an EBT card. But you should be surprised at some of the things you can. Did you know you could buy a Monster drink with an EBT card? You can buy Cheetos with an EBT card. You can buy Cadbury cream eggs with an EBT card. I mean, you think it's funny? The federal government sets those standards, and we as a state have to be abiding by that because of that stupid federal program. It is ridiculous. I don't mind helping someone out that's on their luck that needs supplemental nutrition assistance. That's what that's supposed to be. But you buy food. It should be a gross waste, as Mr. Sitton said. That's fraud, waste, and abuse. If you need the government and the taxpayers to buy food for your table, you should be buying food. And if you're not buying food, you shouldn't get the benefit.
I agree. We have a long-standing tradition in this country. By the way, I might add that the American people are still, on a per capita basis, the most generous people in the world. We've been that way for a long time. And we do want to help people who are down on their luck. I hear this word time and time again about the dignity. There is no dignity in a handout forever. I understand when people need some help. I think everybody in the room would be reasonable for that. But buying non-essentials with an EBT card and some things that are way beyond the pale, tobacco, alcohol, amongst those things, is unacceptable. Yes, I'll feed you, maybe put some shelter over you for a while, but we're not paying for all of this other stuff.
I met a young lady last night at a meet and greet in Elfrida, and she was telling me a story about how for a short period of time she was on unemployment. For a short period of time she was on food stamps. But she was going through a divorce, a victim of domestic violence, trying to take care of her kids. But she got out of that quickly, and she had that character to be able to get a job and move on from there, even though she's struggling. She told me about her neighbor who's a meth addict, who's been living on unemployment and food stamps for years. And she looks next door and is like, how can this be happening? I mean, I'm doing what I need to do. I've reported this abuse. Nobody's doing anything about it. This is not the American way. The American way is about freedom, opportunity, and personal responsibility. I'm okay with giving people a hand up, but not a hand out. So we have got to get control of these programs that are spending our money that people are abusing and staying on, and use them for people like that young lady who was just inspiring to me and not for her next door neighbor.
Candidates, let's get back to the constitutional duties of the U.S. Congress, which is to pass a yearly budget. Over 1,100 days have passed since a budget has been passed by the U.S. Congress. The President's 2013 budget was rejected in the House of Representatives 414 to 0. Every Democrat voted against Mr. Obama's budget. The Democrat Senate Majority Leader, Mr. Reid, has stated the Ryan Path to Prosperity, passed by the House overwhelmingly, will never get a hearing in the U.S. Senate. I am certain that you disagree with the passing of continuing resolutions to fund the U.S. government. how would you, as the new GOP member from CD8, differ from Ron Barber on approving the first budget since 2009? Frank Antonelli.
Well, having actually voted for a balanced budget and built a balanced budget, I can tell you it's no small task. You don't get a lot of help from the Democratic Party. Matter of fact, we in Arizona, with the era of bipartisanship under Janet Napolitano, when you had a Republican legislature and they worked together with the Democrats and the Democrat governor, they brought you a $3 billion hole in your budget. When you voted and elected and sent sound fiscal conservatives to Phoenix, you got your first balanced budget in over half a decade. You want to fix that problem in Washington? You do in Washington what we did here in Arizona. You kick the Democrats out, you put in a Republican president, a Republican Senate, and a Republican House, and you put fiscal conservatives, not the squishy kind that want to reach across the aisle and capitulate and spend your money. You put somebody up there that's going to cut spending, balance that budget, and you can get on that path to prosperity. But you will not be able to get a budget through with Harry Reid. So you're going to have to vote a continuing resolution until November, and then after November, when you throw the bums out, then we balance the budget like we did here in Arizona.
Thank you. Dave, second.
Elections have consequences. We need common sense fiscal conservatives in Washington, D.C. right away to demand that Congress take care of its fiduciary responsibility as set forth in the United States Constitution. It's pretty simple.
The president's budget continues us on a path to overwhelming debt, which is the path of decline for America. So of course that shouldn't be passed. We have not taken this debt seriously, and Paul Ryan's plan is a good step to get us going. He has said that this is the single biggest catastrophe that's preventable in America, and that is true. So we need people who have the leadership and the moral courage in Washington, D.C. in order to get this country going on the right path and get this debt under control. We've got to vote people out of office who don't see it that way, and we need to vote people in this election and the next who do see it this way. It is about a path to prosperity versus this administration and the Democrats in the Senate being about a path to austerity, which is what Greece and others in Europe are dealing with. So we have got to get fiscal discipline under control, and it takes leadership and moral courage, and that's what I bring.
Thank you. Jesse Patrick.
We have to win elections. It's just that simple. Win elections. 414-0. You don't even want to know how many of those 414 people didn't vote for President Obama's budget because it didn't raise taxes and spend enough. There were plenty of them in there. The truth is we have to vote out those who are not going to be helpful to the taxpayer, and that simply involves winning elections. But the good news is we're going to. We're going to win in June. We're going to win even more in November. I do believe we will take back the Senate. There's no question we will have a new president. And because our economy is so prosperous, because we have so many resources in this nation, that yes, we can go downhill very quickly as we are now, but we can also come back very quickly. If we get on the right path, if we start heading in the right direction, we can once again wake up every morning and smile because America came back as we always have before.
Okay, we're going to take one final break of the 6-8 debate before you get to vote next week.